And we are officially live. Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar, Automating Open Source License Compliance Essentials. We're just going to give it a few minutes for everyone to make their way in to today's webinar. So thanks for your patience as we wait for everyone to make it in. But I do hope that you're having a great Thursday wherever you are. Ronan, how is everything on your end?
I'm doing well, Andy. I'm here in sunny Boston, so enjoying this nice summer weather. How about you? How you doing?
Excellent. I'm doing well, thanks. Excited for this presentation. And if you're just joining us, we're going to give it another minute or so for everyone to make their way into the webinar. Really appreciate your patience, and we'll get started soon. So, yeah, just another 45 or so seconds, and then we will get underway with today's webinar. If you're just joining us, first of all, thank you so much for being here. And we just want to make sure that everyone who wants to attend today's webinar can join, but we will get started in less than 30 seconds. So thanks for your patience. About to get started for today's webinar. Just another 10 or so seconds and we'll be underway. But thanks so much for being here. Hope you are having a great Thursday. And I think with that, we can get started. So, really excited that you've joined us for this webinar on managing open source license compliance essentials. My name is Andy Drukarev. I'm on the team here at FOSSA. I'll be your host for today's webinar. Before I review our agenda and turn things over to our presenter, FOSSA Solutions Architect, Ronan Fagan, I want to cover a few housekeeping notes. First, please do feel free to ask any questions you may have in your BrightTalk console. We'll do our best to answer them throughout the presentation, but we'll also have time at the end for a dedicated Q&A that we'll do our best to cover anything we weren't able to during the webinar flow. Next, this presentation is being recorded. We'll send it out to you after the event. And then along with that, we at FOSSA will be reaching out after the webinar with a few additional resources and ways to get in touch if you'd like more information on today's topics. So now let's take a look at our agenda. As you'll see, today's presentation, it's really structured more like a workshop style than a traditional webinar. We're going to walk you through several parts of automating important license compliance processes, and that's going to start with integrating your project, and then we'll transition into creating and implementing compliance policies, interpreting scan results, and understanding compliance obligations, and then generating and distributing notice files in SBOMs before we close with a Q&A. So now just wanted to say a few words about FOSSA and what we do if anyone on this webinar is not familiar with us. FOSSA, we provide technology that helps organizations manage risk in their use of open source software. So businesses use our products to identify and address vulnerabilities, generate, import, and manage SBOMs, and then identify and comply with open source licenses, and that's obviously going to be the focus of our presentation today. So now, really excited to introduce our presenter, Ronan Fagan. He's solutions architect at FOSSA and has really worked in and around open source for many years. So very excited to have him today. He's also a bagpipes player, though I don't expect that will be part of today's webinar.
That's part two, Andy.
Part two, okay. Breaking news. But with that, Ronan, I'll hand things over to you to share a bit more about your background and then to kick us off.
Sure, thanks, Andy. Yeah, I've been in and around open source for a long time. I actually had a full head of hair when I started in, so that shows you just the type of impact open source has on you in these review cycles. I've been at FOSSA for about 4 years. I handle all the East Coast, a lot of the international business, do a lot of M&A transactions. So today I'm going to take you through how I'm going to make your life a lot easier, or how FOSSA is going to make your life a lot easier and simplify all those obligations and those notice files and things like that that you have to do. I'm going to turn on my camera because I've been some bandwidth issues today, so I'll turn that back on at the end for questions, and I will go ahead and share my screen. All right. So folks, this is the FOSSA UI. Each one of these is an application repo. It could be maybe a container, or it could be an SBOM that you've imported from a third party. How we get projects in here is very, very straightforward. We can import the SBOM. We can upload from any of these services, or we can go with continuous integration with our CLI. So whether you have an M&A transaction or some ad hoc scanning, or you want to have continuous ongoing scanning and policy compliance, we'll have a solution for you. Very, very straightforward. This is the same command line that's used on a developer's workstation as is used in the CI pipeline. Just a curl command to bring it down, an API key, and a single command can run and scan for both license and compliance as well as security. Each of these projects, when scanned, will have a set of issues. So today we're just going to focus on licensing issues, but we do also scan for security and quality issues. So anything out of date, any bad components that you're not interested in, or anything with a vulnerability can also be done in the same scan. When we scan, rather than forcing you to look at every single match, like some sort of legacy solutions do, we show you on an exception basis. So the first thing we do is work with you. These are 3 out-of-the-box policies that we give you. And these are put together by 2 industry experts. I'm sure the names are familiar to you, Heather Meeker and Mark Radcliffe. And we've taken the 3 primary distribution methods of open source licensing, and we've broken them down into this traffic light protocol. So all your permissive style licenses are going to be in green. Anything that's restrictive is going to be denied. And then anything that you should also be aware of will be under flag for review. These are all uncategorized that you haven't made a decision about, and we will flag those if they show up as well. Now, these are denied under this distribution, but under a SaaS distribution, I'm not going to worry about GPL 1 and 2, for example. So they won't be flagged. They'll be flagged for review, but not denied. Okay, so you can find a really simple way to triage all of your different policies. If you have an existing open source policy, you can import it here. If you use specific rules or exclusions, you can then create rules and have exceptions on those as well. If we jump into some of the results, I'm going to start with a SaaS application. First thing that I want to do is show you how easy it is to go through this workflow.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just, on the policy, and thank you for that great overview of our policy section. So when we talk about building policies, can you explain some of the options that organizations are going to have? You mentioned the out-of-box options, but are you able to take those and build on them? And then as far as starting from scratch, you mentioned importing separate policies. Can you shed a bit more light on sort of what the options are for somebody getting started with the policy engine?
Sure, great question. Yeah, so many of you may have existing policies already. If you do that, we can import it here as a JSON policy. We can import it, or you can simply come over here or create a new one from either our templates or just a blank policy, and then you can simply drag and drop the licenses into your category, into the various categories. And this is something, by the way, the FOSSA customer success team will help you with. If you don't have the expertise on these licenses, or if you need additional help, we'll be happy to help you build out these licenses. If you're doing any sort of reporting on these externally, you can also attach your policy to show what you've scanned against. But you can change these rules. You can add in new licenses. You can put in even a custom license if you want to put in there, or a proprietary. So if you find a custom license, what are those rules that you want to have? Does that answer your question, Andy?
It does. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's go back and take a look at some of those results. And again, one of the many benefits of FOSSA is the ease and ability in which you can triage. So we've got licensing issues. We'll come in here, and we've got a couple of different severities. Denied is the most serious type. Flagged is informational, and then you might have something that's unlicensed. For many open source developers, unlicensed code is the same as it's a great license, but as I'm sure you know, that can change from version to version. So these are something that you want to be worried about. I can quickly come here and see anything I'm worried about. The MIT-0, I'm not worried about it. Creative Commons 3.0, I might be worried about it. But coming in here, I want to look, the first thing I want to see is I want to know exactly that it's this license for sure, right? I'm sure you've all looked at license scans and it's taken you a long time to figure out the actual license. Here, you can see that it is Creative Commons. You can see that it's also MIT. So in this case, you might want to make a decision around dual licensing. You can do a couple of things here. You can just edit this license, get rid of it, and now you're just left with MIT. If I save that change, and then I can ignore the issue, and I can document here as to why I chose this license, right? So if this is a dual license and it's MIT, this comment is now going to appear in my bill of materials so that I can demonstrate why I've selected this and why I've accepted the license, even though at first glance it might be an issue. With open source, there's also other methods of dealing with it. One is to ignore the risk, which we don't recommend. Two, you may want to create a ticket and rip and replace it. Again, that's not always feasible. FOSSA helps provide the attribution information, that is the email addresses of the open source developers. So what you can often do is reach out to those open source developers, establish some commercial terms, often for low cost. And then if you've done that, you can ignore it here and specify that you've purchased that open source license. You can include those commercial licensing terms. And then also you can teach FOSSA not to prompt you for this ever again. So FOSSA gets smarter as you start to use it. Once you've gone through all of your issues in licensing here, what you're left with is a full set of your dependencies. So direct dependencies as well as transitive dependencies. Okay. If you want, you can flag that list of dependencies here. So you're just looking at ones with issues temporarily, but all of these dependencies, this entire 790, even though there's only 12 issues, are being included in your bill of materials. So once you go through this review, you're left with a full set of licensing. Now, for anyone today doing this manually with a spreadsheet or asking developers to just sort of input licensing, this is the level of visibility that you probably have, right? If you look at where FOSSA is finding risk, 7 levels deep, that is 7 levels of transitive dependencies, we're finding Creative Commons 3.0 as a risk. So I can quickly come in here, I can see what the issue is, the full license text, I can look at why this might be a problem, and I can look at the obligations, include copyright. So that doesn't seem too bad. If I come over here, I can see all of the obligations for all of the licenses, right? So I need to include notice files. I need to include the license header. I need to include the full copyright text. All of these obligations, I'm sure, are very familiar to you.
So Ronan, sorry to interrupt you again, but wanted to go back to the issues screen that you flagged. Sure. And I think perhaps some folks this might register with, but maybe some might not. And I know, at least for me initially, it's something I had to kind of learn. When we look at the issues that are flagged, those are a direct result of the policies that are implemented when it comes to your open source licenses, correct? So in other words, if you have GPL on your deny list, that will automatically create an issue when you run a scan. Do I have that right?
You do, but there's one other component. So on the back end here, we will configure your system to use a default license for a default policy for risk. So in this case, my default is on-prem distribution. That's how I'm sending out software in this example. But your default might be, might be in vehicle. It might be SaaS. It might be a container. So whatever that policy is, you're going to select that as your default. And then you're going to scan against that policy. That policy can also be stated at runtime, at scan time, right, in your CI pipeline. But you can always come in here, and without involving the developers again, you can come in and switch policies, licensing policies. So if you're wondering what this would look like in a SaaS environment or a mobile environment or some other environment, you can switch policies automatically here, and it will refactor the results, all without bringing in the developers again. So we have 2 scans. We have code scans, which for every PR and every commit that you're doing, that's handled by the continuous development, right? And so your developers are just, every time they commit code, they're scanning for those vulnerabilities and for those licensing issues. But then you might have some code that's just under monitoring. It doesn't get changed very often, or maybe it was the subject of an M&A transaction or something else, where you just want to keep an eye on that vulnerability-wise and in case any licenses change. And so we'll be able to monitor that and give you notifications when that has issues. Okay. If we look at then the reports, after we've gone through all the licenses, what we have is an array of reports. And this is something that we can either host for you here, or you can pick a format of a report and you can download it. Or you can generate the notice files and all of the reports automatically as part of the CI pipeline job. If we look here and you think back to all of those obligations, we have the package name, the author attribution, the license header for copyrights, the full license text. You have your declared and discovered license, as well as all the package metadata. And then any information that you put down as to your choice of components is also included there. So again, we can host that here, or you can simply download it. In this case, we have a Cyclone DX. We're including vulnerabilities and copyrights and license headers. And this might be a report that I'm sending outside to my customers. As I said, if you're going to host it here, this is something that many of our customers choose to do. And they'll point just in their documentation to this link, and it will have a full bill of materials in HTML format. So what we've looked at here is the ability to report on individual applications. I'm sure some of you have the use case where you're going to want to combine repos and then maybe report on all of these together in sort of like a custom stack. You can create a release group, okay? And the release group is our way of grouping things together so you can report on them. And so I've got a release group here already built. I've got 6 projects in it. As you can see, I've got all these different ones here. I've got 926 total issues. I've got all my dependencies, all my license, and then you'll see at the reports, I have all the same reporting options here. I can also then report globally. So if I need, for executives, a full organizational-wide report on either licenses and packages or security, I have that there. I can even break down reports based on team. So if you have some, restricted projects and not every developer is going to be able to see the results, with the FOSSA RBAC, you can actually hide those results. You can do M&A transactions. You can restrict access to all of those. Okay. I'm sure that it's a big pain for many of you triaging these and try to triage in bulk. So again, at the global level, I can look at all of my licensing issues. And total in my organization, I've got almost 2,700. I can start with my most serious issues. First, denied dependencies. I'm going to look then at direct dependencies, and then I'll want to start at declared licenses as well. So I can take down that 2,700 list to a manageable 466, and this is where I'll start doing my triage. I can come down here and I can look. The first one I see that's a problem for me is on license. I've got public domain here, which an EPL, which may be a concern for some of you, and I've got those GPLs. So the first thing I can do looking here in bulk, I can see if there's any tweaks. Is there anything showing up here that I don't care about? So I can look in bulk, and then I can just tweak my policy and they will automatically fall off it. But then I can also do a couple of things here. If I see that these are things that I want to create a ticket, that they're really bad licenses, I can do that in bulk, and I can even create a unique ticket for my developers on all of those. Okay? So as I'm going in triaging these and finding issues, I can do that in bulk, or I can do it individually. I can even download that CSV. Now, if you create tickets here in Jira, once they're resolved, they'll automatically fall off. It's a two-way integration. Okay. Andy, do we have any more questions come in at this point?
Yeah, so I think that there are a few. Let's see here. What if you kind of you've covered some of these, I think, but can you apply your policies to only, let's say, certain projects or certain teams within the organization?
Yeah, you can. So with the FOSSA CLI, you can both specify at command run. You can specify the team that they should be a part of, and you can specify the policy that they should use. So that you don't have to know and organize that ahead of time. They just know what team they're on. They just know what policy they should use, if it's mobile, container, what have you. And then they'll scan that with those parameters in the CLI, and it'll create the project here, and it'll already have the proper policy applied. If they don't specify any team or any policy, it'll take the defaults built into the background.
Got it. Another one would be around commercial licenses.
Mm-hmm.
This is obviously something where if you're looking to, for example, have a comprehensive bill of materials, you might need to upload or make sure that reflects any commercial licenses, and then I know we also get into some of the kind of scenarios with dual licensing and all that. But how might an organization be able to upload a commercial license?
Yeah, so first of all, when we scan it, we'll find that license as commercial. We'll show it as unknown. And then if let's say it's this Babel package here, if we view this, we can add the license in here. We can just come in and type in commercial with two M's and put in the raw license here in the copyright text. We also have the ability to do that under a custom. So if you need more information, you can do that there as well. So you've got the custom license name, you've got the raw license text, and the copyright. So then this covers that case either for commercial, or if you bought that license and got commercial terms of an open source component, you can come in here and do that license correction.
Great. One more, is there a way to see whether we're actually in compliance with notice and attribution requirements for the licenses that do require notice and or attribution?
Yeah, sure. So within a given project, within your licenses, here's all of your obligations. And if you just open these, you can see all of the licenses here that require you to include the full copyright statement. Okay. Then you might have to include the full license text. You might include the notice file. So pretty much all of these licenses here, and within 26 projects, require me to put in a notice file. This can all be generated automatically on the command line or as part of the CI job.
Great. So I think, Ronan, is there any other part of kind of your main presentation that you wanted to talk us through today?
Yeah, just one sort of last issue. For those in a sort of an M&A transaction going into that, you might be asked to look at security issues as well. If you have to do that, you can search here for security issues. This is a good example of Log4j. You can search for component by package name or by CVE, or the fact that it's severity here in terms of a CVE. So I can search my CVE. I can see that I've got Log4j here. But if I don't have anything, if I don't have anything but a package name to go by, and I want to double check for something like a zero-day attack, I can look for Log4j here.
Great.
And I can see that I don't just have that one, I have 5 packages across multiple projects. And then I can choose to block that package. So this is a very useful tool, either for the package because it has a zero-day vulnerability, or we know that it's not from a reputable source. We can come in and block that package, and then we'll get a special category of issues right up here.
Great. So at this point, we do have a few minutes for additional questions if there's anything else that folks would like to know. But I think, Ronan, appreciate you walking us through everything from integrating your project to creating the policies that will really dictate what your issues are, to resolving those issues, and then, of course, to generating the reports. And so, I hope that folks who attended feel like that's a pretty comprehensive, I don't want to say comprehensive because we did want to intentionally keep this short, but at least kind of a decent overview of some of the ways that FOSSA will help you handle what would otherwise be pretty manual processes that are very important, obviously, for managing open source license compliance. So I think one other question that we can get to now before starting to wrap up, if maybe you could just, Ronan, I know you've done this already, but go over license corrections one more time. What the situations are that would require a license correction, and then how you would go about doing that.
Yeah, so there's a couple of scenarios here. One, if you have purchased a commercial version of open source, so not only dual licensing exists, but some open source developers and open source companies have a commercial version as well. The code is pretty much identical, and so we would only know that if you had to do a license correction. So it's very straightforward. You'll find the offending component, which again is an exception to the policy. You'll come in and you'll just edit that license, and you'll substitute your license text for the commercial license text. We have a couple of different ways of doing that. And that was a persistent change. So that's a one-time correction you'll have to make, and you'll never have to deal with that issue again. That's the part where you're training FOSSA not to prompt you with those ongoing issues.
Sure. We actually do have one more that just came in.
Sure.
Is there a way to see where the issues slash dependencies come from right now? And I guess this is referring to one of your earlier screen shares.
Sure. Yeah.
This is a list of problems. How do we know where they are located in the project?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me just share my screen again. It's probably
Sure.
a little easier to highlight. Okay. So we have our list of issues. Okay, and we'll come in here and we'll see that MIT. And if we scroll just down here, we can inspect paths. Right here, we can see that this is coming in 11 different ways. So not only are we finding, that it's in this package.json, and we don't upload that file from anything, we just take that metadata from you, but you can see it's been included in multiple ways. So not only are we showing you the fix here, but we're showing you, or the location, but we're showing you that you can clean this up and only be dealing with one version as well.
Great. One more. Sorry, I know this is
Yeah, no, these are great.
the Q&A section that is never ending. Is it possible to get binary files, licenses, and FOSSA automated?
So is that automated scanning for binary, or is that the adding components?
I'm not sure.
So right now, FOSSA does not support binary scanning. We're looking at the best way to implement that. We've also just decided to add snippet matching. Not so much because we believe that that's a necessary thing for most code, but with generative AI, it's going to become a prevalent issue, especially for security. For binary, we're looking at best how to add that in as well.
Would it be, sorry, a few more questions. Would it be possible to get a custom notice file generator?
So we can do one of two things already. One, you can download your notice file in JSON and just append to it all you want. But then if you wanted just to maybe do some branding or put in some headers on top of the reports, you can just do that in the UI.
And so that allows you to make it, I guess, look more aligned with company branding and
Yeah,
such.
exactly. So most people, what they'll tend to do is take the SPDX version down through the command line tools or the APIs, and then they'll augment that. If you just want to put this in HTML, this is kind of the report you'll get. So it's not loading properly on my end. You'll get an HTML report here that you can brand, and you can download this same one as well. Or like I said, JSON is probably the easiest way, and you can just transform that into anything you want.
Are all the package manager declared packages guaranteed to be imported, or can some of them drop during the import process? For instance, if the FOSSA database does not know about them.
Yeah. So so with the package manager, as long as it's in a repo, as long as it's open source and it's in a repo that we can reach, and we have a configuration on the back end for your private repos to configure that, as long as we can reach it, we're going to be able to scan it. If it is something truly unknown that we don't know about, maybe that's a really, really old thing that was on SourceForge way back when, we're still going to show it. We're going to show it as unknown. We'll show it here in a list of dependencies and say, look, something's not quite right. Maybe we don't have the access for that, the credentialing, and you can then you can either ignore that, or you can add that dependency manually, and you can give the correct information. You can simply upload it, or you can even create the metadata around that dependency, and we'll scan it that way.
Great. Well, I think we're nearing time, and so I did want to just cover a few final items. And first, thank you everybody for submitting these questions. If you would like to get started or would like more information, I think there's sort of two paths that we would recommend. If you are a technical user, you can go ahead and even if you're not a technical user and sort of just want to play around with it, you can go to our website and then click the Start for Free button, and that'll get you into an account, and you can import a project using a few different integration methods, and start to do some scanning. The free version of our product does not have all the features that we discussed today. Ronan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there are limitations around policy implementation. And then is there anything else that folks would not be able to do with the free version?
Yeah, free version does not have things like security, scanning, policy. It's really just for a limited depth of open source license compliance. What I showed today was based on the enterprise product, which gives you everything, including C++ scanning, vulnerability license management, as well as container scanning.
Perfect. And so if that is a better fit for you, that more comprehensive set of features, send us an email. We'll be happy to help. The best way to do that will be, just respond to one of the emails that we're actually going to send you after this webinar. And even if you're not interested in buying anything now, we're happy to get on a call and just more theoretically discuss some of the strategies that we've seen work for other customers, and do anything we can to support you. So with that, we are going to close today's session. Can't thank everyone enough for being here. Hope you found this useful to get a feel for kind of what the open source license compliance management experience is like in FOSSA. And if you have any additional questions, please do feel free to reach out to one of our, Ronan directly or our team. And then, like I said, most of you will be getting an email of some sort after this webinar. I think actually everyone will be getting an email of some sort after this webinar. Reply directly to that. We'll connect you with the right people and get your questions answered. So with that, we will wrap. But again, thanks so much, everyone, for taking the time to be here. Hope you enjoyed this and have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.